When I made the video about Smithdown Road earlier this year, I said I would walk a few of the other roads which lead into the outskirts of Liverpool city centre. Now the next one along is a road I'm going to walk today, and it's in three sections. The first part of the road is called High Street. That leads into Picton Road, and at its point nearer to the city centre, it becomes Wavertree Road. Now in this video, I'm only going to cover High Street and Picton Road, and it's not because I'm not feeling fit. It's just that it would be a very long video, and I think it would be more watchable if I cut it into two separate videos. This video is going to start before High Street begins, because I want to cover some of the architecture in that area. One is Wavertree Lockup. There is also the Abbey Cinema, which I've covered before, and also Picton Clock. And I guess can't really walk this road without mentioning Sir James Picton. Part of the road is named after him. So as we get into the video, I'll give a little bit of a background on Sir James Picton as well. Okay, so we're going to start with Wavertree Lockup. High Street, Picton Road and part of Wavertree Road run almost parallel with Smithdown Road. Like many roads in Liverpool, these three roads have seen a lot of change in the last half century or so, and a lot of change was made in the 1980s. That's High Street in front of me there, that's the route we're going to take shortly, and you've probably noticed to the left is Abbey Cinema. I'm actually stood on what is the only free land in Liverpool. I guess that free land means that nobody actually owns it. That tower in front of me is Picton Clock, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. This is Wavertree Lockup. It was built in 1796 and it was funded by local residents. It was used to detain drunks, that's people who were drunk and disorderly on the street. They would be locked in here overnight while they sobered up. Legend says that if you were locked in here overnight, you were given a breakfast before being sent on your way the next morning. I'm not quite sure if that's true. Anyway, it was restored in 1869 and had a new roof put on it. This work was carried out and designed by James Picton. There is a lockup similar to this in Everton. In fact, it's Everton Football Club's badge. That one is called Prince Rupert's Tower. During the 1840s, the lockup served as an isolation room for cholera victims, and later during the Irish famine, accommodation for families. This is the former Abbey Cinema, or what Lidl would like to call their new supermarket. This is a photograph of the Abbey. I'm going to guess it's not long after it opened. It looks pretty new there, and you can see the lockup in the background. You can't see it anymore from this angle because the trees have grown over the lockup. This is my attempt at the same view today. This photograph shows the Abbey Cinema before the wall was built around its frontage, which is now the car park area. This photograph shows a long queue for A Man for All Seasons, a film that was released in 1967. It also shows a couple of blocks of flats in the distance. This is an early picture of Picton Clock Tower, before the view was enhanced by the building of some toilets in front of it. And here's Picton Clock Tower today, complete with the complimentary disused derelict toilets and a plastic barricade. Nice. Picton Clock Tower was a gift to the people of Wavertree from Sir James Picton. The gift was given in 1884. He designed the clock tower in memory of his wife, Sarah Pooley, the two having been married for 50 years prior to her passing in 1879, and it provided Picton with the creative impetus to stop him sinking altogether into his grief. So at the moment we are stood at the junction of Church Road North, which is to the left of me, Childwall Road, which is behind me, the one with the Lockup on, and this is High Street in front of me. Okay, so let's get on with what the video is supposed to be about, a walk down High Street and Picton Road. On the right hand side is a building called the Lamb. It's currently offices. One's a firm of lawyers, and I think the other firm that's in there is some sort of security business, alarms or something. But back in the day, it used to be a hotel. The building, which is currently called the Lamb, had a partial collapse. The area of the building that has the large archway collapsed, and it was rebuilt, and that's why it looks a little bit different from the rest of the building. Now on the left hand side here, this grey building in front of us is the only remaining Georgian Bowfronted shop in Liverpool, and I think it's currently still in use. I think it's a joiner. You probably notice on the right hand side of the road is the Beetle bus, tourists taking a coach trip to various sites that have something to do with the Beatles, and this particular one is a little shortcut through an alleyway at the side of a motor repair shop that takes them to George Harrison's first house when he was a child in Arnold Grove. It's just through the alleyway, and it's just on the right hand side as you get to the end of the alley. This white or cream coloured building on the right hand side here used to be Wavertree Town Hall, and I think it was just before the lockdowns in 2020 a couple of women took on the empty property and turned it into a bar and a restaurant, and they basically look for work in the wedding market. If you're getting married at a church and you want a reception venue, then you can hire the rooms here, and also for general family celebrations, that sort of thing. Next door to the town hall is the Cock and Bottle pub, and if you look carefully at the right hand side where Betfred is, there was a small house there. It was reputed to be the smallest house in England. It was 6 feet wide and 14 foot long, and it occupies a space that was once an alleyway. It was lived in until 1925. The last occupants moved out around about then, and it was absorbed into the pub in 1952. The smallest house in Britain is in Conway in Wales. It's just on the harbour, and that was 6 feet wide. Well, it still is 6 feet wide, but it was only 10 foot long. Now, just on the left hand side here, we're coming up to Wavertree Church of England School, which is a small primary school, and it overlooks the Mystery. It's a Victorian building, and it's been renovated in 1999, and it is quite a lovely looking building. I think we're still on High Street. I don't think we've hit Picton Road yet. I'm not quite sure where the boundary is for that. But this building on the right hand side used to be the police station. The police station now is further up towards the city centre on the left hand side of Wavertree Road, which will feature in the next episode. But this used to be the police station. It became a pub called Cuffs Bar, Cuffs, Cuffs Bar, and it was a pound pub, which meant that most beer that was sold here was around about £1 or £1.50 for a pint, undercutting most of the competition at the time. So even Cuffs Bar has been and gone now, and the owner wanted to turn it into a rehab centre for drug addicts. I'm not quite sure whether that actually transpired. Maybe you know. Wavertree High Street and Picton Road used to be a very busy, vibrant shopping area when I was growing up in the 60s, and before that it was even more busy. Over the years it's seen a decline, and as you can see today, it's how can we put it, it's not the nicest area to be in. People like the ladies who own the town hall wedding venue, they look at Smithdown Road as being revived, and they would like the same thing to happen to the High Street and Picton Road. I'm not quite sure about Smithdown Road. I wouldn't say it's been revived. I would say probably a third of it has been revived and is vibrant and is being used with bars and restaurants. There's a good stretch of Smithdown Road that is still pretty run down. Once you get up to where the Asda is and Aldi on the other side of the road, from there up to Lodge Lane, it's pretty much like High Street and Picton Road is. But I think both streets have their problems. One reason for the decline given by business owners, bar owners and shop owners in High Street and Picton Road, they say the lack of parking is a major factor in the decline round here. and they compare it to Smithdown Road. But on Smithdown Road there's no parking, unless you park your car in the Asda car park or in the Aldi car park. There's nowhere else. Both streets, both roads have no parking facilities whatsoever. I think if you're taking an overall view these days, people's shopping habits have dramatically changed from days when we used to go out and see real things and touch them. People just want to see a photograph now and have it delivered. And if they don't like what they're sent, they simply send it back. Really, when you think about it, when these roads were conceived, they were meant to serve the community, and once the community moves away or changes, then it's bound to have an influence on the busyness of the shops in the area. So these two buildings, the one on the left I would have called Picton Baths, and I came to these baths quite a few times with my friends when I was a lot younger. The building on the right I would have called Picton Library. Over the door it says Wavertree District Library. So what I know them as and what they're actually called are probably two different things. I think it's probably a good time to have a little chat about James Picton. James Picton was born in Liverpool in 1805. His father was William Picton, and he was a joiner and timber merchant. James entered his father's business at the age of 13. Later, he joined the office of Daniel Stewart, who was an architect and surveyor, and eventually James took over the business. Picton designed some very important buildings in Liverpool, including the Corn Exchange and the Richmond Buildings, which was an office block, now demolished. James Picton became a member of the town council in 1849, and in 1851 he was a member and later chairman of the Wavertree local board. He started a campaign to fund a public library for the borough in 1852, and an Act of Parliament was obtained to allow the raising of a penny rate for a public library and museum. William Brown provided the buildings for the library and museum in 1860. In 1879, the corporation added to the library a reading room which was called the Picton Reading Room, modelled on the British Museum's reading room in London. Picton was the first chairman of the library and the museum committee, which was founded in 1851, and he remained in this position until his death. James Picton married Sarah Pooley, and their son was also called James Allinson Picton, and he carried on his father's architectural practice and was eventually elected an MP for Leicester. James Picton died on the 15th of July 1889, aged 83. Some of James Picton's work includes numbers 8 to 10, Brougham Terrace in West Derby, Liverpool, Holy Trinity Church in Hoylake, Congregational Church on Crow Lane in Newton-le-Willows, Chorlton Hall in Backford, Cheshire, Sandy Knowe in Wavertree, Liverpool, number 11 Dale Street in Liverpool, and the Hargreaves building, which is number 5 Chapel Street in Liverpool, which is behind St Nicholas Church, St Bartholomew's Church in Arborfield in Berkshire, Richmond Baptist Church in Breck Road, Liverpool, and Mercantile Exchange Bank in Castle Street. Also the Temple in Dale Street, Fowler's Buildings in Temple Lane and Victoria Street, and of course the Picton Clock in Wavertree. He also added the roof to the Lockup in Wavertree as well, and the Corn Exchange in Fenwick Street, Liverpool. So that's quite a resume, really, of pretty wonderful buildings. I showed some photographs of the Abbey Cinema at the beginning of the video, and although it's not strictly connected to this road, it was in close proximity. But there was a cinema on Picton Road back in the day, and as we walk under this bridge, it would have been on the right hand side of the road. The cinema was called The Magnet, and it opened in 1914. It only lasted till 1959 when it closed. I don't personally remember it, I would have only been 2 at that time. But it's had a few uses since. It's been a Liverpool squash and badminton club. It's been a 147 snooker and squash centre, but most of it now has been demolished. What does remain of it is the white building on the right hand side of the road with the blue signage. Here's a couple of photos of what it looks like now and what it looked like back in the day. But even this photograph is after it was a cinema. It's obviously it's got a different use in the photo. Now these houses on the right hand side look like a pretty recent addition to the road. It's a pretty new housing estate there. It's quite large, but that's called Cinema Drive, and it's obviously a hark back to when the Magnet Cinema was here. We're almost at the top of Picton Road now, and very soon it'll dwindle out into just basically walls of a bridge which goes over the railway. So there's not really a great deal more to see soon. It's going to be a little bit bleak, and I'm going to end the video and continue with part 2, which will be Wavertree Road. But like many roads in Liverpool, High Street and Picton Road have changed a great deal over the time. Certainly not as busy, certainly not a vibrant shopping area like it used to be. I'm going to take a guess that the houses on the right, the houses of Cinema Drive, I want to guess that they were built in the 1980s. I could be wrong. If you know different, then I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. But there was a lot of building done in the 1980s, and I'm going to guess that this is part of it. We're still running parallel with Smithdown Road at the moment, although it's a fair distance away. It must be, I don't know, 5 to 10 minute walk from here to Smithdown Road if there was an outlet. But we're also running parallel on the right hand side with Edge Lane, and if you watch my video about Littlewoods, that's on Edge Lane. So we're sandwiched between those 2 roads here, between Smithdown Road and Edge Lane. As I said when I made the Smithdown Road video, I intended to walk some of the other roads that lead in towards the city centre, and obviously this and the Wavertree Road video, which is coming up, is one of them. Edge Lane is another video which I would like to make and walk that one. That's seen quite a few changes over the years as well. The fourth one I would like to do is Kensington, which is the next one along, and form a group of 4: Smithdown Road, High Street, Picton Road, Wavertree Road, and then Edge Lane and Kensington. They're all interesting in their own ways, and they've all had major changes made to them over the years. Just looking down the side streets there's quite a few Liverpool roads that look exactly like that. You could take a photograph of one, and if you didn't know the name of it, you could mistake it for 100 others. But a lot of them have been lost, especially in this area, and I think to understand it, you have to go back to the 1980s, and I've been toying with the idea of actually doing a video or two on Liverpool's housing problem. I'm not sure whether it's a video I want to take on really, but I think it's an important time in Liverpool's history, and maybe it needs to be made. We're quickly heading towards the bridges which go over the railway line leading into Edge Hill Station and Lime Street Station. We're also heading towards Wavertree Technology Park, which is not too far in the distance, and I think it's probably time to call this video a day and then carry on this walk as another video of Wavertree Road. But before I go, I'd just like to show you a photograph of what Picton Road looked like in the very early 1900s, and I would imagine it was like this through to at least the 1940s. Okay, thank you for watching, and we'll catch up soon.